Alright, so it's Monday and I have the day off, so I guess this is one of them bonus episodes. I don't know. I'm just keeping busy. I'm trying to solve a problem I have, and that is cutting sheet goods. I don't have a proper way of cutting sheet goods. I have a table saw, but you know, that old school fence where you have to measure both sides. It works. You can make repeat cuts, but I have to cut larger pieces. And I thought about making a sled for it, but then I just there's not enough platform to really control it nicely, and it becomes a little bit sketchy. So instead I figure I'm gonna make a dedicated platform in which I can cut sheet goods. So there's the supervisor, and so I had this scrap piece, but it's a 3/4 plywood, and it's 48 by 46. This is the biggest sheet that I really can get. So what I have already done is I strapped four 2x4s to the bottom of this. This is going to be the bottom edge, and this is where my fence is gonna be. This is my idea. I can't find nothing on. I couldn't find nothing. I have this idea floating in my head for a while already, how to make straight cuts, and I know a lot of people use like a guide rail system, but I'm trying to make something simple, and at least to see how this works. And then at a later point I'd like to have a bit more of a dedicated kind of like a panel saw. Would be nice, but again, I have to make something that I can move around. I can't really store in here because, you know, like my building space is limited, and I know it's a right mess. I have to clean this place up, but I need a way of cutting sheet goods. I need to get to the point. I need to start cutting beehives for the winter. I made 5, I think. I made 5 last year. That was the test run, the prototype phase. Learned a few things on building these, especially the implementation. There's something, I'm going to change some things, which is why I only did 5 and didn't know how many I was going to catch this year. But I want to build enough hives for next year to at least... In my container right now, I have a slot dedicated to all the materials for hives that I can go in, get what I need, and then come out. But right now I made space for enough parts to make 10 hives. That's what I have it set up with. And what I did before was I cut this stuff at work. They have a panel saw there, and that worked. You know, that does work, but you know, it's just I want to be able to make it all in-house. And right now the panel saw it works for what they do, but I want to try to get a little more precise than what it is right now. That saw it's a little bit rough now. I'll say that. But the idea here is, yeah, I've been rambling on long enough. But on this edge, that this 2x4 is going to. I'm going to screw another one to the side of it like that, and so that edge will be the guide. I can probably put. I'd like to put a tape on the bottom here, like a measuring tape, and then on this piece itself, I can just put a stop block, much the same way I put one on there, and then I can make repeat cuts. And that's the whole idea. I want to be able to make repeat cuts, and I need to be able to do it. Because some of the biggest pieces are 36 inches by 23, and I want to be able to slap a piece on there, put it against there, make the cut, and then do 20 pieces like that. Then change my stop, do the next 20 cuts, and then I have my pieces. So with this on the side there, this is my idea. I put this on the side. That's going to act as a rail, but I also have, then you see that there's that gap there. It's about a little over, it's probably about 1 inch. And then I'll put it'll probably overhang a little bit so that I can get the saw more on this side. I'll see how that all goes. But then I'll do the same thing on the other side, put a piece of wood on there. Then this one is offset just a little bit, because if I were to do that flush, because this is 48 and the pieces that I might cut in here are 48, they would probably get so tight they might bind. So I give it a 3/8 offset. That way I can always just slide them in there. There's no fussing about with that. And that will also come up. And from there I'll make a platform across, probably out of just 3/4 wood. Ideally I try to find something. Well, I might use this rail. Actually, that's a pretty good idea, because that'll lend its strength too. So I can use like 3/4 plywood as well as this, because I got a lot of this stuff. Not a lot, but I have enough for it. I use this actually to whatchamacallit, when I make wood burnings, I sometimes make the frames out of this, because it slots in 3/8 just perfect. But then that would go across 2 of them, and then that will be to the same width as the saw. And so the idea is that I can just have the 2 pieces on the side of the saw, and then I can just run the saw free form down there. So then I can think about, it would be nice to have something like I've seen guys, they make a sled for this, and then they put bearings on the bottom, and then they have like a rod, and then you just have a nice push rod, and that would be ideal, honestly. But I don't have rod on hand. I do have the bearings ish. I might have something, I'm not entirely sure, but the supervisor's up to something. And then but at that point, then at least it's, I'm just gonna try this, see how that works. I think it'll work. It's much to the same kind of concept as I made a different jig for a router. It's a good question on where that went. It's a very good question where that went. That's an important jig, actually. Story for another day. But I just want to give up looking. We'll see how this turns out. But I have to go cut those 2 2x4s now. I'll go find a piece of 3/4. I have it. Oh, I could probably use that one over there. I don't know what that was for, but it's probably wide enough. And just put it across. I'll probably have to go pick up another piece of this, because that's going to be enough for 1 rail. And then get that screwed in there. And then because of that height difference, I just be able to slide a sheet good under there, resting against the stop, make the cut. And yeah, it's big, it's bulky, but in the end of the day, I can either store this on a wall if I find a spot, or I can always store this into the container again, because I only have to crack it out when I have to this is purely for like mass production, multi-cuts. Oi! Then I'll because I don't have to use it all that often, so I'll just keep it in storage when I don't need it, crack it out when I'm making a bunch of material, and then store it again. So, but I think this might be a valid solution. Who knows? We'll see how it turns out. Alright, so I'm just puttering along and figuring things out as I go. But here's the mess so far. And so I just got myself a piece of angle. I kind of clamped it down for now. And I lagged the 2 ends in. I'm just using 1/4 inch bolts. So there's those going from the underside. And there should be enough clearance with the head on there. I tested on what the fence would be. So I'm going to get that screwed on there. I'm going to do it every foot. I have to get 1 more of those. And then, so the idea is that I can run the saw against here. And just make the cuts up and down as such. I was thinking about originally also then putting a piece under here. So that it's kind of between 2 tracks and I can't really wiggle. I'm a little bit on the fence about that. I'll see how it goes. Oh well. So yeah, I'm gonna just drill those holes, get the bolts in there, and then I have to line it up. I did put it on spot where I should be able to theoretically put another piece in there, a fence, so that it can run against the other side of this. And I guess I should be able to adjust it, whether it be washers or not, to accommodate that space. But we'll see how that turns out. But for now, the idea is just to push against that fence instead of having more like a guided rail. Alright, so this little doohickey is coming along, and so far it is promising. By that I mean I actually got a square cut on the measurement that I wanted. So I'm gonna have to get some sort of tape or something. I should go look into that right away. Roll out tape. And sometimes I wonder how I cut myself. It's funny, you go at the end of the day and all of a sudden you see what collection of wounds you got. Either I went with the square, and I butted it up. So here's the saw. Getting ahead of myself. So the saw rides along next to the track. I've already got that set up. And it rides pretty nice. I like it. So it's, you just keep it next to it. I got a little stop block in the back. It's just stapled in there with some wood glue so that'll harden up. Everything else has been bolted down, and I cleaned the surface. I took this angle to the fence here, and I kind of did a rough measurement to what should be a factory side, and this beam was measured to this edge, and that is clamped in place right now to what looked, what was 24 inches up, was still square. I just ran this piece of scrap through the saw, and I just lined it up with the little 16 I made there, which I got off the square. How you go? Hey there, girl. She tried jumping up there, and then she grabbed onto the wedge here, and well, that's not fixed anything, so she went tumbling down. Eh? You're not chief engineer. Yeah? Okay. So you can see this board. That's the 16 I put on there. So, hey, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. But more importantly is the square, because the measurement you can always be adjusted. But as you can see, that's flush there. And go to the other corner. Hey, that's flush up there. I don't know if it's, but it's nicely in there. And maybe it's not so flush down there. Oh, it's not. I'm getting ahead of myself. So I'm gonna have to adjust this a little bit. And but that's why I have it clamped over there. I got the one screwed in here as the pivot. Now I'm adjusting it to make sure that it's square. So I'll continue filling with this. I guess I should practice with a bigger. I should get a bigger board. Is what I should do. I'll run up, get a bigger board, get an old piece of, I don't know, get something with a factory edge. Make sure one side is good and flat, and then I'll just keep running it through until I'm happy with the squareness of it. Alright, so here we have it. I've been fiddling with this thing for a good while now, and I think I'm happy with where it sits. So I've been playing around with this piece, and I'm starting to put a little bit of measurements on there. Again, I'll just put tape down there, but you can see you're not a good side of the tape, but that's 11.5 from that bottom, and on a cut this long, there's 11.5. So I'm happy with that. I've been getting this thing. This piece is now square. I've cut it a few times already. I've now screwed the ends in so that this thing is kind of set in position, but I also added this hole here because I noticed that it kind of, at least some of the sawdust can then fall through there, and it would, I noticed that it would clog up there, and then it doesn't sit all the way back. But that's so far so good. I found this clamp. It was attached to a light, but it makes things a little bit quicker. That's the one thing I should look better into, is a better clamp system, so that when I, have this board against the fence, then I can just, at least this one's quick to do instead of something like that. That's stronger, but this is quicker, and I can hold it with one hand too to stabilize it. But at least you can just in, off. So far it works. I'm quite happy with where it is. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go try and I'll do a little bit of a test run, see if I can get some plywood out the container and make some beehive parts. That's the real test. If everything lines up, it all goes square, then kind of go from there. Okay, so here is test 1. I'm making what would be the bottom, the floor of the beehive, the interior floor, and it needs to be 36 and 3/8 long. So I got a stop block set over there. I run the dimensions with the square against the tooth of the blade, and then I have my own little measuring system up there. And I just need, like I said, I need to get a tape down there for sure. I was looking at some and was thinking I'll have to go find one, just stomach the cost. But well, maybe a cheapskate. I don't mind having marks on there. Just makes things easier. That said, let's see. I made a slight adjustment. So there's my little test cut, and then if I go to the end there, it needs to be 36 and there we go, 3/8. So I think that's accurate enough. Yeah, you can see the adjustment on that side. I went from, apparently that wasn't, I thought that was just, a little bit out, and then I bumped it a bit back. There it is. It looks a little better. Yeah, so I'm gonna run that through, see how well the measurement goes all the way through, and then might as well cut more of them. And then the real test is going to be, well, once you have an established straight edge, then it's going to be, when you flip it, cutting the width of it. That's the biggest test for these things, because it's got the biggest chance for delineation. But I don't know what the test I ran before, it looked pretty good. So I guess I can leave that block set up there, and then do my short run, set up a separate block for the short run, and then if it all works out, it's all good. Well, I can take the short one out, go back to the old one. At least I can keep that in place. So see how this goes, and then who knows? Maybe I just fire a bunch of these through, and then we actually get some boards ready for the winter. So yeah, I'll go run this one through. Alrighty, so this project's gone on long enough, but I think I'm going to conclude it here. It's already past 9, and well, I ran a few test cuts, as you can see. I'm just, the 80-20 principle. 20% of the work was getting it set up within a 16th, and the last 80% was chasing that last 16th. But I think I'm happy with where it's now. I've been cutting this. Hey buddy. I've been just chipping away at this piece. So the way that I have to go about doing this, there has to be one good edge. So all the scraps I get, they'll have the saw at work cut straight but not square. That's the problem. So they'll always have a straight edge. So I'll have to butt that against the fence, make one edge square to the straight edge, and then you can flip it do the other one. So now you got 2 squares, and then you can rotate it and do your long cut. And I've been measuring them, and this one is, you know, same here across, same here across, and I had that before, but some of them they were turning into parallelograms instead of square, but this one's actually square. The second time it's been squared. I had it was square, it was good, and then I ran it right through again, and measured again, it's square. Turned out square twice in a row. Probably should do it a third time, but I'm done. But at least, yeah, you can go to bed without feeling like a complete failure. So at least, you know, you got something done. So there's that. But at least there's one more step towards, you know, actually building this stuff in-house, which is, yeah, it's a progress. It's a long contemplation whether it's worth doing or not. But you know what? In the end of the day, you're really happy when you can actually get the material in-house and go from there. But yeah, I'm going to sign off. So I don't know if you watched this far. Thanks for watching, and